What's happening? What's up, everybody, and welcome. We just left the marina here. We're headed up north to Ozona to check out our Grady White first, and then we're going to be heading to the Regal from yesterday so we can get that thing started. I got a starter for it. I'm not sure exactly what we have to do. We're going to do a few more tests on it. We did the battery switch yesterday, and hopefully we can get it running today. So let's get up to Ozona. All right, we made it out. Oscar definitely makes you appreciate the convenience. This big beast of a truck here. But I haven't been up here in a long time. Check this marina out, it's pretty cool. Yeah, so when you come up north, it's a lot less congested than when you're in Clearwater and all those areas. This actually only has one little strip of boats for our marina here. It's Ozona. It's just a little marina out in the sticks here. Kind of back in a neighborhood. Anyway, let's get to our boat. There she is. It's a 326 Canyon. Very nice boat. This customer lost his anchor and everything on a wreck apparently. I'm not going to show you the rope and chain because I did that a couple episodes ago. You can watch that. But there's a couple other things. We got a piece missing on the top, shock in the back to fix, and I guess the raw water's not working. So let me lower it down and we'll check it out. All right, we got our lower down here. Actually jumped in it real quick just to check a few things out. I always like these boats. The center console Grady White is just a classic, pretty boat. All right, let's jump on here. There's only a couple items on our list. Go on the top. So you go up on the top here. We actually have a plate missing here. It's just these plate covers for our access to our electronics or whatever we're rigging up here. So I'm gonna make one of those to put in. When we go back here, it says this hatch is not staying open. It does if you lift it all the way. But as soon as you can tell, as soon as you got any bounce or movement or whatever, it just falls. So I'm gonna order a new shock for that. Besides the rope and chain, the final thing here is a raw water pump. Customer says it's not working. If you look down here, the hole, the first pump right there, that's actually the raw water. Here's our through hole fitting for it right here, next to our bait well pumps. It's open. And let me show you something I found. It's pretty funny. So we have fresh and raw water here. Our pump is on, but when you turn this to get water out of it, it's sucking. It should be pushing water out. The reason why that thing is sucking and not pushing is because it's hooked up backwards. The lines are actually backwards. It's not a big deal. What I'll do is switch them. There's no reason to film that. It's just two lines. What I will do though is film me making that piece in the top. So you know what time it is. Roll that sweet footage. Welcome back. We got that plate done. That's actually just a temporary plate, so we didn't have a hole in the top. We'll get the right one from Grady. My quick fix isn't perfect, and the paint doesn't match exactly, but it's covering the hole, so that's what matters. Also, our raw water pump's working. I switched the lines, so when we come back, we'll have to get a shock for this with the right plate on there. It's supposed to be good for now. That being said, our Regal that we were going to go to is not actually happening now. We have a couple other jobs, maybe one or two, depending on which time we got, to get back to the marina here. And then we got to take off and see what we can get into. So, let me pack this one up and I'll see you at the marina. All right, made it back to the shop. I got to go down south. It's close to my house at the end of the day, so I'm trading Brutus out for Vicky here. Got all my tools loaded. We're gonna take Vicky down. We got a 36XO to look at. I guess the generator won't start, or it's not pumping water. Something's happened with the generator, so I'll see you down there. Well, all right, we made it out here. We're actually lowering the boat down. This is from episode 47, pretty sure it is. I worked on this boat, if you want to see more of it. It's a 36 Regal. What I'm gonna do is jump on board here. We gotta get it down so we can see if we can get the generator running, see if it's pumping water, see what it's doing, so at least we can figure it out or fix it. So let's get it opened up. She's almost in the water all the way. Before we move on here, of course, there's always storms waiting for me. All right, so we're at the very back of the boat. This is like the machinery hatch, you want to call it now, because this used to be where they have inboards, but now all these boats have outboards. Down here is our little Westerbeke generator, brand new. These are actually really good generators. They little 3 cylinders. They run real smooth. They're quiet. I'm not sure what happened. We're going to attempt to start it and just see if it pumps water, and we'll see if we can diagnose it. Alright, let's shut that off. Well, here's the rain, and we're not pumping water, so let me go get some tools. We'll take this water pump off here. We're also going to check our lines and make sure we're clear. I'll walk you through all that. Alright, so here's our generator pickup. First thing we're going to do is follow it all the way to the strainer. I'm going to pull that line off the strainer right there, and then we'll make sure we have good water flow. After that, we'll take the water pump off here, check it out, make sure that it ain't damaged or what happened there. Put a new one in if we need to. Alright, so right away, probably can't see this very well. Get the light. Alright, so right away, here's our valve. I pulled the hose off. You can open it up. We're in the water right now. You got nothing but a little drip. You can see there's something in there. It's a hard spot to get to. Something clogged up. Seagrass or something. Alright, so I pulled this off, and there's our culprit. We got clogged up with some seagrass. So we'll clean this out. We'll make sure our line is cleared all the way through. Take it off right there. And then we'll check our water pump here. And I'm sure the water pump's burned up if this is completely full of seaweed here. Alright, she's cleared out and back together. Now let's see what kind of water flow we got. All right, we got good water flow now, but because of that, we know that our water pump is shot out. It doesn't take maybe 30 seconds to a minute with no water to eat up an impeller. The water actually acts as a lubricant to the impeller because it creates friction around the brass housing, and it's rubber. So without any lubricant, that impeller is gone. So I'll give you a little walkthrough because this is a Westerbeke, not a Fisher Panda. It is a 7.5 kilowatt. And it's a little bit different water pump. You got one more step because it rides on a belt. It actually isn't part of the camshaft, so let's get started. All right, depending on which way your generator is facing is where your water pump's gonna be. They can be mounted in all sorts of different locations in a boat. This one happens to be facing forward against the wall here. Here's our belt. This is our water pump right here. First thing I'm gonna do is pull this hose off so I can turn this thing, because there's 2 bolts right here we gotta get out. So this belt will come off. We can rotate the whole assembly, get the water pump out and check it out. So these hoses sometimes will like to stick. If they do, the best thing I've found is you can either pry on them real hard if you want to, if they're really, really stuck. If you just try to get them to twist, usually they'll break free and you can pull it off. All right, so another thing to note here, these are either 5/16 or 8mm, it's about the same thing, depends on where they're made, or you can use a flat blade to get them off. All right, our hose is out of the way. These are 10mm. You want to take these two bolts off. There's one on top and there's one on bottom. You gotta get these off, and then this takes off the whole assembly off of the housing here. All right, now I got the screws out. Sometimes this will just pull itself off with the tension of the belt, or you can just turn it yourself. But this belt has a tensioner, and what I'm gonna do is show you how to not have to loosen that up so you can put these back in. Because sometimes this becomes very difficult to slide this back in place in order to get this back on. All right, so now we got it pushed forward. I took one of these out. These are actually 7mm or flat blade. I recommend using the flat blade because these are so small, they will break very, very easily. All right, our screws are out. Let's take a look inside. Oh, surprising. Our impeller looks pretty good. Let's get it out of there. All right, looking at it a little closer, it looks pretty good, but the blades were starting to tear on it. It was just starting to heat up, it looks like. You can see it's starting to, it was a little bit melted there. But one thing to watch out for, if you don't have any blades on this, you're gonna have to look for them in your hoses here and hopefully find the pieces, because these blades come off, they end up clogging up the system. A lot of times they'll get stuck in these 90s, just like that seaweed did. And that usually is the case. They'll stick here or here because the water, once the blades go, it can't pump water, so it's not going to force them through the system. All right, so our new water pump, if you see in the middle, it's got a bar that is going to go inside there, so it will spin when that belt spins. And all you got to do is line it up when you spin it in there. You can see the bar sticking out of the right there, so you can kind of use that as a reference if you want. Now you're going to want to get that as far in as possible. Make sure that, you know, it's about flat just with the housing here. Check your O-ring. You don't want that leaking either. If this O-ring leaks or anything, you're going to suck air. Before we put our plate on, also check your plate, make sure there isn't any damage here. This one looks pretty good, normal wear. You always see those lines from that impeller spinning. All right, we got the plate back on. Now, these screws, just like I said before, you don't want to over torque them or they'll break off. If you break these off in there, you're either buying a whole new housing or you're gonna have fun trying to get that little piece out of there. All right, now we're gonna slide this back in place. I always like to just leave my belt on here, make sure that it's lined up on the other side. Slide it back over where it was. Now if you see, this belt's pretty tight already. I can't really push down on it too hard. You see our holes right here are not lined up all the way to put the bolts in. So what I do, I just get a flathead and push down on it. On the other side where the screwdriver is, there's a metal bracket right there. And it's got a little ridge on it. You can actually get your screwdriver on it so you're not hurting anything. You don't want to pry on anything and break anything. So I just get a little pry on it, it doesn't take much. And you can push down, you can see now, I can line my holes up. Push down the top so I can get my bottom in, then we can just put the top in real easily. Yeah, and try not to force them. They should just go in by hand pretty easily if there's no corrosion or anything. If you try to take a socket or a wrench or something to it and crank it down, you might cross thread it, so be careful of that. Now, I got the bottom one snug. You can see our top holes lined up. All right, our two bolts are snug now. You just want to double check and make sure your belt's nice and tight and it hasn't walked off the track or anything. Now let's stick our hose on. Holy crap, is it humid. All right, we got it all done. Let's fire it up and see if she pumps water now. Alright, as you can see, we got good water flow. Right up there, we got a bad storm coming. So I'm going to get out of here. This thing is double checked. I'm actually sitting in front of the air conditioning right now. It's been running probably half an hour with no issues. So you know what to do. Hit all those buttons, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next week. Later. That's the sound of freedom.